I don't know,
It's the 2nd of November. I'm sorry, October. Rabbi Furst, what are we doing?
okay, Erev Rosh Hashanah, so we'll be continue on with, if you have any specific questions about Rosh Hashanah to deal with, we can field any specific open questions to begin with, and then maybe we'll focus if we have some time left, focus on something specific if you like.
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't really relate very well to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Okay,
I try my best during Elul. I review my diary from the last year, try to come up with resolutions, and then
right,
when I'm davening, I review the resolutions and say I'm committing myself to do this.
right,
But the actual liturgy, the especially the Shemona Esrei is to me it's a burden. It's so long, and I'm standing up and my back is getting sore, and I'm getting really tired, and I just get to the end.
right, I understand.
Hard, even with what we've been doing, which is helpful because it gives me a little bit more insight when I read the sections that we've gone over. So, hopefully they'll be a little bit more meaningful, but not that much more.
Right. So, like, first of all, in terms of the physical, this discomfort of standing there in position for a while, I think most people experience that to one degree or another, and it's just a question of whatever you can try and do to minimize the discomfort and try and make yourself as comfortable as possible. Sometimes it's a matter of wearing better shoes or putting a mat underneath your your place where you're standing. Sometimes maybe having a high stand or mount your sitter on a place where you can be more comfortably positioned. That those are some things that just in general could help for that. But in terms of now the meaning, you're right. I mean, obviously, the little time we spent on trying to understand what the some of the words meant and do mean, that's helpful. Yeah, it's a it takes effort to really integrate the words because a lot of them, we're not always really familiar with the words, so that means there's a gap between our comprehension and the what we're trying to accomplish with our minds. So, what can I suggest? It's important to realize the meaning, the effect of our prayers. I guess that's one way to help things integrate that, even though we may not have a full comprehension. Now, again, if you have a good English moxer, which gives you somewhat of a um, indication of the meaning of the word, that's very helpful. You're probably using the art scroll.
Yeah, I have that. It's an interlinear. It's
Mhm.
translation intertwined with the Hebrew. I'm showing you I'm showing you what it looks like.
Okay, 1 second. Someone's at the door. Yeah, right. I've seen that. Okay, 1 second. I just have to get the door here.
No problem.
Thank you. Hmm. Okay, let's look. So I'm just collecting for the. Okay, we could do a mitzvah. Um, So, yeah, so I mean, you usually probably have a weekday, on the same format, right?
Right, I have interlinear for weekdays, for Shabbos. I have several interlinear um art scroll Sidurim.
Right. So, I guess sometimes if what I've done is, it takes a little bit of just sitting with it on your own and like making certain milestones in the liturgy. Certain there may be more. Some points may have more significance for you, right? So if you concentrate on those, right, and then kind of use those as milestones to eventually branch out and make connections with the rest of it. So that's kind of helpful if you're able to spend some time, but it takes a little bit of work, to, to go through it and to integrate it. Um, the main thing is the Musaf is the largest of all the Shmona Esrei, the Amidas that we'll be saying during the Rosh Hashana. Then you have Yom Kippur also. There's maybe Yom Kippur maybe a bit less in terms of the length. Um, Knowing the general significance of the Malchus and the Zechronos and the Shofars, so that's very important. If you understand the central theme, these are the three central themes of Rosh Hashanah and how this Rosh is built upon those themes. So you have the Zechronos. We'll actually start with the Malchus, proclaiming Kadosh Baruch Hu's reign over us, and therefore our subjugation to Kadosh Baruch Hu's will, and that's number one. And number two, the Zechronos, the fact that Kadosh Baruch Hu is evaluating our adherence to that which we just spoke about, the ability that we have to have Kadosh Baruch Hu be the king over us. So kings, we to a certain extent we don't have the same conceptual understanding of kings as earlier generations had when they were real kings. We don't have that to a great extent anymore. So when we try and relate to the concept of Malchus, it's more abstract than in earlier generations. But nevertheless, we still have the ideas of authorities and powers that are greater than us having control of us and necessitating that we be subjugated to them. It's whether it's simply traffic laws or the IRS, whatever you might want, another thing you might want to pick. But and then you have the shofars, the significance of the shofar itself as being a prime example of our subservience to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Right? They all interrelate. That the Malchus is the understanding again of Kadosh Baruch Hu is the king over us. He decrees and desires and demands that we follow his wishes, just as the king demands and expects that his loyal subjects are in fact loyal to him. And then you have the evaluation of that. That's what we're evaluating. That's the din, the judgment is taking place on Rosh Hashanah. We're valued on how closely we actually adhered to being loyal to Kadosh Baruch Hu or not. And then the shofars, the prime example of our subservience to Kadosh Baruch Hu by blowing the shofar. that shows our subservience to Kadosh Baruch Hu by doing this particular mitzvah, and it's very significant. So when we're thinking about those things, that's one way of relating. But now it's these concepts have been incorporated into the Musaf prayers, right? So these are three separate times when we're given the opportunity to actually put these things into action. The ability of ourselves to be subservient to Kadosh Baruch Hu. So when we're there in the Midah of Rosh Hashana Musaf, so we're there, and if we really integrate the concept of prayer that we're actually standing before Kadosh Baruch Hu. So to the greater extent of how we relate to Kadosh Baruch Hu in that way, that we're actually standing there in front of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, so that will be the extent that the power of the Malchus, Yechonos, and Shofas can have an effect upon ourselves. That if a person is going to actually put himself into a mode of experience, being in front of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, I mean, he's actually standing there in front of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So his prayer is going to be different prayer, and also that's going to change his year to come. That it's going to have an effect on the actual year that will be awaiting him. That Kadosh Baruch Hu will see that this person who's, at least in some way, I'm not saying it's in any way perfect, but in some way he's working on imagining himself. That's one of the reasons we have such a imagination, that we're given the tool of the imagination in order that we be able to relate to Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? Kadosh Baruch Hu not being physical in any way, shape, or form, right? So we have to use our imagination to try and relate to Kadosh Baruch Hu, who's completely non-physical. So when we do that in the context of prayer and Shemona Esrei, standing before Kadosh Baruch Hu, so we can use that imagery of a king, right? So that'll help us be prepared to incorporate it further and further, day by day, in the year to come. All these three things are potentials by which the next year that's going to unfold is going to be a outcome, a consequence of what we're doing during these three aspects of our Musaf of Rosh Hashanah, the Malchus, the Zechronos, and the Shofars. That we have the Malchus to the extent that we're standing there in an actual experience of standing there in front of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So that's going to be a milestone for the coming year. And that's going to be, this is the basis of our relationship to Kadosh Baruch Hu the coming year. Likewise, the Zechronos, the conceptual, experiential understanding that we're being judged, right, on Rosh Hashanah, right, for what's happened, and we're being evaluated, right, for a coming year. Just like you have an employer, and you have he does a yearly evaluation of his employees, right? So the employees called into the office, and the records are open, and the discussion takes place. And you can well imagine that an employee, if he has something to be proud about in terms of his past year's performance on the job, So it's going to be there in the records, and he's going to benefit from those. And if there's on the opposite way, has to show him there's going to be something he's going to be embarrassed about in terms of his past year's performance. So that's going to affect also his chances on getting a raise or promotion or whatever it might be that they're doing this evaluation for. So we have to feel the same way. And the third and final of the shofars, we have to realize that the shofar is a mechanism. Besides the fact that it's a mitzvah, but this is a mitzvah that has certain effects. I mean, every mitzvah has an effect in one way or another, in physical and spiritual ways. But the shofar, to a great extent, is probably the most powerful. Could be learning Torah might be greater, but in terms of any specific mitzvah, shofar might be the greatest in terms of its power to change the outcome of what might be decreed, even though the decree may be for this and that, but there's a reprieve the person can have for the decree that's been made upon him, and that can take place. That appeal or a reevaluation is taking place when we blow the shofar. So you have those three aspects, and to as much of it as an extent you can try and integrate those concepts and ideas. So that can add a lot of meaning to the prayers. Just kind of put yourself out of the physical experience that you're dealing with, not being so particularly comfortable. But then with practice, it becomes easier. Especially as Kadosh Baruch Hu sees you want to utilize the opportunity of the Amida of Rosh Hashanah Musaf, they can become closer to him. So there's a very good chance that Hashem is going to view that person who wants that in a different light than what may be originally decreed upon him. So you have these ideas. I'm not sure if that's going to help you. I mean, it takes practice. That the main thing takes a bit of practice. In which case, it's worthwhile. We have a tendency to just look at, okay, this is Rosh Hashanah and then it's Yom Kippur, but the prayers of the whole year are really interrelated with the prayers that we're going to be having these days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur as well. So it's well worth our efforts to try and integrate these things, and that'll make it easier to a certain extent. The more you feel for what you're doing, the significance of what you're doing, so you're willing to forgo momentarily the discomfort, right? If the person is not focused on the greater picture, so the discomfort of the moment is in the forefront of his consciousness. Whereas if he's focusing on the significance of the things he's saying and things he's doing, what he's living through on these days of Rosh Hashanah, so you focus on the significance of these things, then the lack of comfort and the distress that a person has because of the lack of comfort is going to be minimalized. It's possible. Yeah. Okay, I don't know if that's. Yeah.
I've actually moved backwards in regard to some of the things you're saying. I remember when I first was involving myself in going to shul and davening and that whole world. There was a certain excitement to it, and it was a certain enthusiasm I had. But after the third or fourth time for Rosh Hashana, so for example, um, it's like, well, I did that already.
Yeah, right.
It's hard to keep up the enthusiasm, the sense of wow, I'm standing in front of Hashem. I try to remind myself of that every time I do the Shemona Esrei. I try to remind myself, but there was a certain excitement that I had in the beginning that I've lost.
Mhm. Um, yeah, it's common, person obviously starts off on a level of enthusiasm and excitement, and that definitely can change change over time. Um, so I wrote I don't know, maybe I can send it to you. I wrote a little booklet based on the Rosh, the lecture from one of my rabbis. I'm not sure if I must have it on the. Let me see if I can find it. Not usually, it's a very short, but to the point. Oh, mhm. Okay. It's yeah. I mean, you're not alone with this. There are a lot of people that are like that. Um, and one
And I've been to lectures where where the rabbi will say, you gotta say it with the same enthusiasm every time. And I understand that's the goal, but it's very difficult to achieve.
mm, yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna I'm gonna send this to you. I have to just download it and then resend it to you. It's uh it's a short little pamphlet. You can read it probably within a short amount of time. It's like I'll probably make a if it wasn't in a pamphlet form, it would probably make a uh fairly mid-sized feature article in a magazine or newspaper, something like that. But let me see if I can send this to you. Hold on. Ready to go. Hmm. Okay. Here it is. Now, okay, you're gonna get something in your email. Um, Okay, see, we'll check your email in a moment, see if that came into you.
Yeah, I just refreshed it. It didn't come yet.
Okay.
Usually takes a few minutes.
Mhm.
Oh, here it is. Okay, yeah, I got it.
Okay, so when you have time, again, you can, if you put away, you could probably read the whole thing in probably 20 minutes or so. But then if you would like to, work on it a bit, there's, there's, uh, there's a lot of things you could think about and look up and follow up in terms of a little bit more depth than what the actual pamphlet's teaching. But this is yeah, this is exactly what the pamphlet's designed, hopefully, to do, is to try and rekindle some sort of excitement and aid in experience Rosh Hashanah on a deeper level.
Okay, I'll try and take a look at it.
Okay. If you have any comments or suggestions, you can, questions on it, that would also good.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure, of course. Sure. Okay. Right. Okay, let's see, any particular point to discuss or something like that? I mean, you can actually, if you want, say we have it, but if that attachment opens up, we could look, I'll direct you to a certain place to start. Um,
I've got it open. Audience with the King, preparation for Rosh Hashanah.
mm, um, we can leave the introduction. Let's leave the introduction for another time.
Harvard
Oh,
Crown.
that's right. That's right. You could read that a bit. We could read it if you want. Uh, so this first chapter is based on the question as it's stated there. It's a blaza, from Yusuf Salante, based on this question. Questions asked. Well, logically, it could be that we better to have Yom Kippur before Rosh Hashanah. Seems a little bit odd that we're going to concentrate on all the tshuva of Yom Kippur and not have that benefit of being cleansed from our sins before we are judged on Rosh Hashanah. Why do we get judged on Rosh Hashanah and then, right, afterwards, we have Rosh Hashanah? It'd be better that way, apparently, no? That's the question that they were addressing here.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Right. So the Rabbi Yisrael Salanter answered by the way of this mushal group. They have a group of boys, and they're there on the street corner, bragging about who throws the best rocks, right? And happens to be that the same day, the king is having a parade through that city. King's parading through the city.
It sounds familiar. I think I may have heard this before.
Yeah, it's been quoted in various different contexts, right?
Right.
So, but when you're reading this, if you read it in terms of trying to understand what the necessity of that the muscle is trying to communicate why it would be ineffective to have Yom Kippur before Rosh Hashanah. It would simply be ineffective. It wouldn't be um, accomplishing a purpose. Whatever tshuva that would have been done on a Yom Kippur without having the benefit of Rosh Hashanah beforehand is going to be lacking. It's going to be very lacking because the tshuva will not be done in a state of in a state of in a state of knowledge of what you're doing tshuva for. And the tshuva, and that's the whole 10-day period that was, Elul began. That's we coming to the close of Elul today. And now we're going to be in Tishrei, 10 days of tshuva, intense tshuva, is first and foremost the basic tshuva we have to do with this is mentioned in almost all cases. We have to realize that it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu whom we are responsible to fulfill His will, and any tshuva we're doing has to be founded on the premise that the tshuva is a recognition of our laxity and our loyalty to Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? So we have to have a recognition of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, to however humanly possible it is, and then we have to evaluate our behavior, our thoughts, our speech, and our mannerisms in ways that'll bring us to a consciousness that we do have a responsibility to Kadosh Baruch Hu. So that understanding of, yes, we have a responsibility to be loyal to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And we're going to get evaluated for that. Okay. Yeah, the Rosh Hashanah is basically reestablishing a close relationship with Kadosh Baruch Hu.
What?
That Rosh Hashanah is basically Rosh Hashanah is really an opportunity for us to reestablish a close or have an even closer relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu.
Right.
And but at the same time, we lack a true understanding. So if we really picture ourselves as we should, that Rosh Hashanah is the day of judgment, so that's supposed to be effective enough in terms of our consciousness of Kadosh Baruch Hu. Rosh Hashanah is supposed to elevate our consciousness of Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the prayers are central to this theme, to accomplishing this. It's worthwhile for our own sakes to concentrate and visualize as clearly as possible what's happening on Rosh Hashanah. One second.
You want to put yourself on.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Lou. I just had to take a phone call that came in. Okay.
No problem.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, very good. Okay, so the way I just remind me, we're discussing, yeah, the Rosh Hashanah is supposed to be an experience, as much as we can try, each person individually, to really strengthen his relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why this little pamphlet is called An Audience with the King. We really have to feel and believe and know that we are in fact having an audience with the king, and so you can, a person's gonna have a private audience with the king. He can that can change a person's life. You know what I mean? So, so that anything we can do, whether it's concentrating more on our prayers, whether it's working more on our learning during those 2 days, our mitzvahs during those days. It's a 2-day period by which the opportunity to privately meet and relate to the king is available for everybody. So yeah, whatever we can do, it's important, very important, because it can change. As I said, it can change a person's life, and that's exactly what we're praying for. Zagrenu L'chaim. We're praying in the insertions that we make in all the prayers for Rosh Hashana. We're praying for the for that opportunity. Okay, we say we just generically use the word life, but there's probably no one in the on the face of the earth that, in his own personal humble opinion, he would not want something to change about his life, right? And okay, whether it's for our ultimate benefit or not, that's a Kadosh Baruch Hu's wisdom to determine that. There's probably no one as I said, on the face of the earth that wouldn't want to change something about how his life is, right? So, and now you got yourself 2 days of Rosh Hashanah with the king, and maybe the king can do something for you. I mean, there's no doubt. I shouldn't put it that way. There's no doubt that the king can do something for you, right?
Right.
So the question is how can we try and relate to Kadosh Baruch Hu in a way that hopefully, what we think is best for us is not always what is really truly best for us. So anytime we ask from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, we really have to preface the any request we make to Kadosh Baruch Hu with the fact that, in my humble, unknowing opinion, what I think is best for us, I'm asking this. If it is truly good for me, then Kadosh Baruch Hu should be able to lead for granted. So yeah, that's what the opportunity we have for Rosh Hashanah. That this can happen, these things can happen, and they do. They really do. Yeah, it takes work. It takes work. That's really what Elul, this month of Elul, was really supposed to be given. It was given this month of Elul to concentrate on the coming meeting with Kadosh Baruch Hu, right?
Do you find that you're able to to infuse your davening with new freshness each year, and to come closer to Hashem through the process? Are you able to do that?
To look to a certain extent, look, it's something. It's really, to tell you, it's something I try and work on every day. Every day in the morning. I try. Some days, be more successful than others, right? But even in the morning davening, the three they say the Shemona Esrei 3 times every day, right? So it can become habitual, and many times it is habitual, right? So yeah, it does take work, and but the change can be made, and it can be effective, right? Again, like I said, the one good way to try doing it is to focus on specific points rather than to say, well, I'm going to try and make the whole of the prayer service significant. So that might be a little bit difficult to do, but you can work on specific, maybe one or two of the prayers of the Shmon Esrei, the brachas of Shmon Esrei. Maybe the Psukei Zimra, one of those particular stanzas in the Psukei Zimra, even maybe a pasuk, even just one verse or two verses, right? Just try and concentrate on what it means a little more deeply than what you usually think about. Yeah, the general rule is, Lou, if you want to try and accomplish it, you'll get Siyata D'Shmaya. Akadosh Baruch Hu will help you with it. So, and then if you set a couple of realistic goals, right, that's part of what Tshuva is all about. Tshuva is sort of like, dealing with some type of a flaw that we have in our loyalty to Akadosh Baruch Hu, and then taking corrective measures to eliminate it. So sometimes you can't eliminate it all at once, but you can take some minor efforts, make some minor efforts to try and make it as less habitual. The biggest things that are hardest to change in terms of a person's relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu are those things which are things are done unthinkingly. He's doing just simply doing things automatically without thought. So making a bracha. So take an apple and just without too much thought about it, I just spit out the bracha. But if it's said with a little bit more concentration, a little bit more preparation beforehand, and a bit slower, so it changes into a whole different type of a bracha.
Right.
So it takes preparation, and part of the preparation is picking some specific things throughout. I would say we want to work on this, even during the rest of the year, during the weekdays also, to try and focus on specific points which you feel they have meaning for you right now, and you want them to have even more meaning for you. Maybe the questions you have about what the words mean exactly, what the concept is, trying to understand where the gaps are and what you know, and what you can work on to improve. And that's a big part of tshuva. What tshuva is, that's part of tshuva. Just making plans to make improvements in what you are, what you're doing with your life and your behaviors. Yeah. Okay. I guess Rabbi Levitt's going to be waiting soon.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Rabbi. Appreciate your time and focusing on my issues. And I hope your Rosh Hashana will be very meaningful and significant for you.
Thank you as well, and appreciate you, tuning in with me here on Zoom, and hope to see you. I guess we made up. I think what 9:30 and some Gedalia. We made up on a regular schedule for some Gedalia on Yom Rishon. I've forgotten already.
I think we said we would do the 9:30.
9:30. Okay. All right. So good. Hopefully 9:30 on Yom Rishon.
And then on Monday on regular schedule.
Yeah, that's right. We'll get back to regular schedule then. Fine. Okay. Again, you should have a Simatova good year, good sweet year, and hope to see you after Yom Rishon.
Amen. Same to you, Rabbi. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Shalom. Bye.
Bye-bye.